Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. And my guest today is Angie. And Angie's going to tell us a little bit about herself. And then we're going to talk about how she got interested in motorsports. So, Angie, tell us where you live, about your family, whatever you want to share with us.
Hi. I'm Angie Parrish, and I live in Tennessee, in a small town, Manchester. It's halfway between Nashville and Chattanooga. I have a small place with a couple of garages and several cars and trucks. I love racing and collecting and working on cars. I have a cat that I love dearly. She adopted me several years ago, and she's a terrific garage cat. And I currently work at a local community college, and I have taught ladies basic automotive classes, and I'm an events coordinator and involved in several car clubs and in the race community and car shows and that kind of things in my area and throughout the South.
Wow, you keep busy, don't you?
I do.
That's a good thing, though. We always like to be busy, don't we? For sure. So, Angie, tell me a little more then about how you got interested. You have a couple garages and you teach motorsports or teach auto maintenance, mechanics, whatever. You're going to have to explain all that to us. So, how did you get started loving cars?
Well, that's something that's asked me all the time, and I have a hard time nailing that down because I think I just loved cars. I grew up, my dad was in the Marine Corps, and he served 23 years. And so I grew up traveling and living in a lot of different places and seeing a lot of different things. And my dad kind of liked cars and that kind of thing. I think he kind of sparked the interest in them because he would take me with him to car shows, or when he went to look at cars, or even to junkyards, he took me with him. And so I think that helped get my imagination and exposure to cars. And then I just started liking cars. I think I've got kind of an engineering brain, and I love everything about them and all different kinds. So, and I just kind of grew up that way.
So, when did you really start to get involved then more with cars and the mechanics and that? I mean, going with your dad when you were little kind of got your interest in cars more so than dolls. And so then when did you really get your hands dirty, hands on doing things with cars?
Well, originally I think it sparked because my dad was in the military and he wasn't always home, and we lived in all these different areas. I had my first sports car, and it was very, very old, but it needed brakes. And I was about 16 or 17 years old. And so this was before the internet. So
Yeah.
I went and bought one of the Haynes repair manuals and studied it and figured out how to do the brakes myself. And then I had a good friend of the family come over and double check I did things right because it was brakes. But I did. And so that put me on the path. But that car was 280Z Nissan, and the sports car thing started there. But
Okay.
it just evolved. I went through as I got a little older, well, along the same lines. I've always owned more than one car. I've worked and did that. That wasn't really handed to me. But for a while, when Dad retired, he bought a little farm here in Tennessee, and which I loved. And the local community at the time, four-wheel drives was a big thing in our area. And I wanted to be part of that because it was mainly guys, no girls, but they would take their big four-wheel drive trucks up in the mountains and logging and doing all, the logging roads and stuff. So I happened across the used car lot down the road, and they had this old 1973 Bronco, and I traded that Z for the Bronco, and I kind of did a little work to it, and I went in the mountains with them and did all that. And my first true motorsport, I guess motorsports competition was in that Bronco. Locally, they were doing off-road racing, mountain climbing stuff, but they had started doing what they call mud bogs, where you run through a big long mud pit and it gets deeper and worse as you go. And I put my little Bronco in it. I was the first woman to ever do that in the community, and I won. I didn't win overall, but I won my class for the little guy, and it did good, and I was very proud of that. So I continued to do that for a little while.